special guest is Paul Morgan, aka PVibez, and he is a keyboard player, a multi-instrumentalist, a singer-songwriter and a producer. He was the original keyboard player for 33 Records British Jazz Fusion Aces, the Shez Raja Collective, I hope I've said that correct, and appeared on both their debut EP and album Magica, respectively, in 2006 and 2007. Today we will be talking to him about some of his collaborations, but first we are going to get to know the man behind the creative genius. Paul, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How you doing?
Oh, Paul, welcome to the show. Now,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we know that I know your CV is, very big, and we'd be here all night if we were to go for it. But could you just give us just a sample? Just tell us give us a bit of insight about your background and how you got started in your career.
Okay. Right. I didn't have an early sort of like preteen start in music. I didn't have any formal education, or I didn't show like any extra special thing at the age of 5, 6 or anything like that. But I did show an inclination for music from the get-go, from as early as I can remember. And I think the first experience was my father brought me a guitar, and I used to strum it. I wasn't really just strumming as a kid would do, and I loved this thing. The strings broke and I cried, and I was like, I want a new one. And it was always promised, but it never actually came. And whenever music was played around the house, I would just be, in there, just in the stereo, just like right in it, like, and they would just say, oh, this guy is a music man, or, he's a music fan, sort of thing. And we moved from where we originally were, and then I just recall banging on things all the time and knocking out rhythms. And I used to just construct my own sort of makeshift drum sets. And I remember there was a school that was behind the back of our garden. And this boy always used to walk past. His name was Chrissy, and he always used to pass the house. And I'd be in the backyard with my pans and my boxes and all that, pretending to be a pop star, whatever you call it. And I just created this impromptu song. And as I was growing up in the area, those guys never sort of let me live that down. They'd always say, he's the pop star, sing that song and stuff like that. So yeah, it took time basically, and in school it didn't happen either. So, the early part, but eventually it did. And I, got some formal sort of like basics, chords, how do you strum this chord and that chord. And that was the seed that was planted, and it just sort of just blossomed from there. I just wanted to explore everything about music, from the engineering side to the production side. I'd read all the credits on my sister's albums and my dad's records, and read strange names like producers and arrangers and all that kind of stuff. And that was my fascination, and it never left. And from there, later I was able to get my own guitar, eventually, and started basically just learning to read. I tried to read, and I had a friend who would play the cello. She played the cello on the recorder, and she knew a lot of music theory, so she got me in touch with that sort of thing. And I took to it like a duck to water, basically. I just had a natural inclination in grasping, musical terminology, and so from there it just sort of expanded, and other instruments started coming into the frame. I was always into my bass lines, growing up in a house where reggae was played, and I suppose a lot of West Indians and probably people of African descent, bass, on this bass thing. So I was always a bass man in my head, and so bass guitars came, drums, keys, eventually had a real drum kit. And just sort of self-taught myself in a lot of things. And then I just, would go around to different places where there were musicians, similar to myself. I started taking lessons, some private, and after school sort of things. I'd get involved in those workshops type things, and I went to do a diploma music. Initially, I got accepted to Salford University, but I didn't go. It was a bit of a distance.
No, yeah.
And my old man didn't want. Yeah, he didn't really, he wasn't really too keen on me leaving the area, so that didn't happen. So I'd done a diploma locally, and learned quite a bit. That was the beginning, and from there, I met other musicians, and started gigging, doing, forming bands and stuff.
Yeah, tell us about Shez Raja Collective.
Oh wow, the Shez Raja Collective. Well, basically, how I met Shez was I was in a band with an artist called Tasita Damore, and I think we lost our bass player, or not lost him. I think he left or he got fired. I can't remember. But anyhow, Shez came in as a replacement of the guitarist. The musical director brought this new bass player in, and all I can remember was a tall guy of mixed Asian descent, and had a good vibe about him, and he was just amazing. He came in and he just blew us away, and we're like, yes, oh wow, this guy's our new bass player. He's going to be the new bass. He stuck around for a couple of rehearsals, but he never really gigged with us, and then not too long after, maybe a year or so later, I think we disbanded, and everybody sort of went their separate ways. I was still working with the lead singer. We were working on stuff, and I got this call from the guitarist from the band saying, Shez is forming a new band, a jazz fusion thing, and he was asking for you. He said the Vibes, wants this keyboard player, asking if you'd be interested. So I said, oh yeah, of course, and that was it, so we spoke, and then we, had a meeting, and then I met the rest of the guys, and we started rehearsing. I didn't know he was planning on recording an album and an EP. Initially, it was just like, I want to gig. I mean, he was doing a lot of sessions. He was playing with people like MC Light, and he was doing like the Radio 1 road show, backing all those pop artists of the day at the time. And but he said, he wanted to do his own thing. He said it was time for him to express himself. Basically. So this project was his baby, and he saw in me that I was the guy that he, would sort of bring to life his vision, on the board. So yeah, and they just, all these guys, I can't remember, he had Pascal Rogan on electric violin. And it was Chris Phillips on the drums, but we had multiple drummers after that. There was Jose Hoyt on there. He's played with tons of people as well. And I think the resident drummer now, it's Chris Nichols. And Shez obviously on bass, And I was the original keyboard player. There's keyboard players that have succeeded me since. But it was a learning curve, They were real heavy musicians, jazz heads. That was one of the best experiences musically of my career, and I was supposed to have stuck around, but I was going through at the time. There was a lot of like personal upheavals in my life, and lost a few close people consecutively, and I had to take time out, and so that sort of brought to light to myself as well that I needed to also remember that I had my own thing going on.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I started pursuing that more, but the door was open. He left the door open. He had another keyboard player, I think his name was Dan Banks, that came in, and it was supposed to just be temporary, but then Dan, I didn't really come back. I think I did, maybe a couple of years later, I'd done some gigs with the Machine gigs, and I went back to doing what I was doing,
Okay.
And unfortunately, for me, when he called me back for the second time I rejoined the band, he was working on some new material because there's some new songs. We're going to be doing some new songs. So I learned all these new songs, But again, I wasn't thinking of anything else. I was just thinking these are new songs he wants to add to the repertoire. We're going to gig them. I wasn't thinking of any recording. But he was actually planning to record those songs pretty soon after we learned them, And the thing is that after the last gig that I done, I sort of jumped ship again, and I missed out on the follow-up album. But my experience with those guys, was beautiful, and they're really lovely people and amazing musicians. And he's doing great things. Hoping to catch him live sometime soon. As a matter of fact, I'm planning, to do some instrumental stuff myself. I've got some things ideas in my head, so who knows?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's great to hear your collaboration there with a group that you seem to love and respect. You mentioned your mum was, had musical, she has a musical abilities. Can you tell us a little bit about, your family musical connections?
Oh, but yeah, because my mum is a natural musician. She was a natural singer, naturally rhythmic. She'd tap rhythms out, she'd sing, and she had a beautiful voice, an amazing range. And I'm not just saying it because it's my mum, but I wasn't around, obviously when she was in Jamaica, and she sang in the church. And the friends that came over with her would say, oh, you should, your mum, whenever she would sing in church, the whole parish would hear her. She, that's how powerful and beautiful her voice was. It wasn't just powerful, she had a beautiful tone. She could sing operatic, she could sing jazz. I think Ella Fitzgerald was a big influence in her vocal styling sometimes. And I think one of the songs that whenever I hear it is that song, Every Time You Say Goodbye. When I hear that song, I hear Ella singing it, it makes me cry, because I always think of my mom, because she always used to sing that. So I remember that whenever that song would come on, or if it ever come on the radio, she'd sing it, and it's like, when I hear Ella singing, it reminds me of her, and it sort of brings tears to me. But yes, my mom was musical, but my dad also would claim his side of the family as well. Like, your uncles. Yeah, that's right. Your uncle, you've got an uncle who's a musician. He plays guitar in the church. He's in America. And, I heard of my, cousins out there, they all played. Apparently, one of my sisters, older sisters, was telling me that some of my uncles also played. My mom's mother, actually, my grandmother, played the guitar and sang.
Wow.
And and she was like a Jamaican, Chinese, or Asian woman. And she played the guitar and she sang. And very religious, my mom's side of the family, my grandfather as well. They're very religious people. And from my father's side, they would say, oh, you have a musical family, their names would get thrown around, like legends, like Derek Morgan and people like that is your family. So, it's all, it's there,
Awesome.
But yeah, in the family home, we didn't have instruments really, it's a big family, and it was tight, growing up in the early days, it was tight, Yeah, but coming back round to my mother anyway, I later found out that she also was quite musically educated, because when I was learning my theory, I remember I can't remember which module I was doing, if it was a keyboard module or it was a music appreciation or whatever, I can't remember. Sight singing, God knows, I can't remember, but I took these papers back. And I was like in the kitchen, I remember saying, oh, Mom, what did you do today then? I said, oh, I was going through this and that. This. She said, oh, what is it? So show me this. And I said, yeah, like this notes here. And I said, yeah, this is da-da-da. And she goes, and then she just does just intervene. And it's like, oh, yeah, and that's a G and that's a da-da-da. And she knew where the notes were and the intervals. And I was like, oh, my gosh, you know this stuff. Then my sisters would come around and came in and was like, oh, what are you talking about? Are you serious? Is she just messing up? Is she just saying that? Are you just messing up? I said, no, she doesn't know. I'm like, wow, So, she probably, done stuff like sight singing and, and back home and learned all that stuff. She was very creative. She was a dress designer, she could knit, she could sew, she designed clothes. I remember people coming around and having their measurements taken, for dresses, and she'd knit stuff and people in the area would want to buy them. She'd put, stuff to put on their sofas and all sorts of things. My mum had a lot of time. Yeah, very much.
Okay, thanks for that. You call yourself a self-confessed music geek who is infatuated with songs and melodies. Share with us the importance of melodies in the song, and does creating melodies come easy to you?
I will answer the last bit first. Creating melodies, does come easy to me, in the sense that, I've been creating melodies from as far as I can remember, knocking those pans and stuff, and, singing that song about Christy that just came to my head. It was just impromptu. I just created that on the spot. And, it just, so... I mean, obviously, it wasn't a sophisticated melody in any sense, but that ability to create something that you can sing to or hum, has been there from day. And for me, melody, I can admit to you this part, like when I really became musical, in the sense that I began to learn about instruments and learning how to play. Harmony was my thing. Harmony was my interest. Chords, it was all about the chords for me. It was all about the chords, because the chords created what can I say? It created a vibration, a vibe, motions. It would evoke emotions. Certain chord progressions would make me feel a certain way, and I guess we also grew up around music where sometimes the chord progressions were quite, jazzy or, sophisticated. There was these gospel things that were different, these gospel progressions, these certain soul records. And so that was my thing. And I really tried to make a conscious effort in my early days to get into harmony and figuring out how did these guys make these chords sound like that. How does it sound so soulful? But later on, I began to realize the importance of melody. Even though I would sing stuff and make up melodies, I didn't really think about it in that way, initially. But yes, melody is king. And I think it was Stevie Wonder, that made this quote that melodies are like, did he say they were gifts they're like angels, or it's a gift, they're gifts from heaven, melodies. And it rings
that
true.
Makes sense.
As I've become sort of more advanced or, mature, it's like I realize the melodies. It's where it's all important, the rhythm, the harmony, the melody. But you can hear it in your head, the harmonies, but you can't really sing them. Can you? We're not polyphonic, so we can only sing one at a time. But I guess I've seen Layla Hathaway do something where she did sing harmonies. She's like a 2-part or 3-part.
Wow. Okay.
Amazing, yeah. But by and large, it is the melody that is first and foremost. Okay. I think
we better get a move on. I've got loads more questions to ask you, so I just want to make sure. You talk a lot about. You've talked already about the pots and pans and boxes. Just very briefly, how does that unlock your creative flow? Because I really like that story about the pots and pans.
It's funny because that's something I've always written or spoken about, from day, because it is the truth. But I've noticed that I've read from a lot of other musicians as well, that's how a lot of them began to express themselves.
Right.
And I suppose, like, for a lot of people, I guess if you're musically inclined or something like that, I think it's probably the most natural and basic way that we express ourselves musically, and I suppose it's the first way that we began to express ourselves musically. I mean, rhythmically, you know, by banging on things before we had strings and you know,
of course,
yeah, keyboards and all that kind of stuff, and things that we blow. I suppose it was rhythmic, you know. We'd find things to knock and bang. So, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Me knocking on those pots and pans, it just made me feel like I was someone, you know. When I used to do that, and I'd put the boxes out I'd even like cut out my cymbals and put stuff up and sticks, you know, put a stick through the thing. Seriously, it's no joke. And I'd go out there, and I really think I was a rock star, you know, out there banging away with my sticks and all that. And I think one of my sisters used to be there banging alongside on some tub or something. You know, I just get her involved. It's like, come on now, we're going to do this thing. Yeah, and I suppose that, again, is a seed, you know. It's a seed that was being planted because it's something that never left, and it did manifest itself in truth.
Wow. Okay, so tell us briefly about some of the people that you've worked with and who's inspired you.
Okay, well, we spoke about the Shez. We spoke about Shez Raja. There was this lady I mentioned, Tasita Demore. She's an artist out there that's been around doing her thing for some time now. She's worked in the house music scene a lot, you know, with Defected label and some other labels. We've done some collaborations, which got released. I released one, a feature single with her, and I also got placed on a compilation that was released in Japan with her again. And we've done some writing. I think we've done some writing for a band called Dainism or something. It's like a house funky house band type. Yeah. And also I collaborated with these producers called Copyright, who are, you know, heavyweights on that soulful house scene. They were signed to the Defected label as well. I collaborated with them on some track. It never saw the light of day, but you know, it was a promising piece of work.
Nice.
And yeah, gosh, I don't want to go back, you know, too far now and mention our names, but yeah. Then obviously, you know, there's Shez, Scoffrey, and there's Lorne, and there's people that we will get to. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, how can people get in touch with you and find your music?
They can get in touch with me right via my website, www.PVibezofficial.com, and also www.facebook.com/PVibez, and www.twitter.com/PVibez. Those are the main places where, you know, you will get most of the news, you know, all the latest information.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, PVibez. Right, so now I would actually like to look at some of the recent collaborations that you've been involved in. And we'll be playing some of these for our listeners. So, what was the inspiration behind What If? And tell us what it was like to work with Lifford.
Okay, Lifford. The story of Lifford goes like this.
The story of Lifford, yeah.
The story of the meet, you know, between me and Lifford. This is basically how it happened. I was just scrolling through my social media one day on my Twitter, and I saw my name coming up. You know, it just kept cropping up in the feed, and that's like these people talking about me, and his name was there. He was him. You know, he was talking with someone else, and this other person. We were all following each other, but they were having this discussion, and I wasn't involved. It was just like I just saw my name coming up, and it was this guy called Alone Star. He's Jethro Sheeran, who happens to be the cousin of Ed Sheeran, and he's an artist producer in his own right. You know, he's been around, and he's, you know, worked with Ed as well. So he's also worked with Lifford. So Lifford at the time was embarking on a solo project, and he was looking for soul producers. So Jeffro found something on YouTube with this track that I'd done, and then he contacted Lifford on Twitter and said, "You need to check this out. You're looking for guys. Look, check this out." So Lifford was like, "Wow, oh yeah, I definitely need to get some of that. I need to speak to this person." So we just went back and forth to and fro, and I thought, "Oh, I'm not even involved." So I tapped him up and I said, "Hey, hi, it's me," and we got talking, and he said, "I'd like to work with you," and that's how that came about. And I had some stuff I just composed for him. Mm-hmm. He specifically was asking certain things, and I'd done exactly what he wanted first, because he wanted something similar to the track that he heard, a slow jam, which I'd done in the same time signature, and everything was like 3/4, and he loved it. So that was that mission accomplished. But he said, "I want more," so we started doing more stuff, and then done this What If, and this vibe. It's something soulful. He likes Al Green. He likes something really soulful and deep. So I went down that road, and and he loved it. So that was that. I sent him the track, and he wrote to it. And the rest is history, basically. That, to tell you the truth, that track both those tracks were supposed to be on his project, which he was going to release, and he came very, very close to releasing it. But then the Disclosure thing happened, where Disclosure remixed "Please Don't Turn Me On," a hit that he had back in the day with the Artful Dodger, and it blew up. It started going viral, and he started doing stuff. So it basically took him back down that route, down that garage sort of thing, and so he abandoned the soul project and went down that route. So I could say, to be honest, that the catalyst for the whole of this Vibezlab Sessions thing really came from the Lifford track, because once that track was sort of just sitting there, both the tracks, I was like, okay, I was working on a solo project at the time, and I had a concept already of this Vibezlab thing for years. I wanted to do this with various artists, but once that thing was sitting there, and I thought to myself, right, what's going to happen? So I contacted him and said, what's happening with this thing? Because I know it seems like you're not really going to be doing this album anymore. He said, no, I'm focusing on this, and I need to, I said, I'm going to hold on to What If, and we're going to try to remix it and bring it sort of into a more sort of, whatever vibe it is, that they were trying to do, a more sort of contemporary thing. And so he said, but if we can't do a better job, then you can have it, by all means. You could have it and use it. So I said, okay. So they had it for a while, and then he said, no, we can't really top this, so it's yours. Okay. Of course I was happy about that. So
I bet you were.
I was. And so then I thought, this is it now, this is the beginning of this, and that was it. That's how this project began.
Okay, so we are going to play this track for you, so I hope you enjoy.
There's 100 million ways I could show you that I care. Exactly why I'm here by your side. And 1,000 billion ways you could say that you're not ready to be loved, and it wouldn't mean as much as it does. But you do, yes it's true. I'm a fool, not for you, but for love. I'll settle for your heart, but it's not enough. And the long run I need a shoulder to cry on, someone I can rely on. My life just ain't the same now that you ever did. Yeah. But if I was to say that you mean everything to me, but if I was to say that without you I wouldn't breathe, no. But if I was to say that you wouldn't leave me, now that I depend on you, depend on me. There's 100 million days, sweet now, and the time that my heart would ever want to be apart from yours. 26-hour day takes the place of number 24. That's when I need your love no more. So I do, yes, it's true. I'm a fool, not for you, just to love. I've gone to the point of no return. So I yearn, guess I learned today how it feels. Oh, show me that your love is real. But if I was to say that you mean everything to me, but if I was to say that without you I wouldn't breathe, but if I was to say that I never leave now that I depend on you, baby, depend on me. But if I was to say that you mean everything, but if I was to say that without you I wouldn't breathe, but if I was to say that I never leave, now that I depend on you.
Okay, I hope you enjoy the track there. We'll keep that running for a little bit, and while we're doing that, we're going to look at Cosmic Lover, spelt with a K. I love that. And what was it like working with Shez Escoffery? I think you mentioned her earlier on, and we've had her on the show as well. So tell us a little bit about that project.
Okay, I will speak about how I met her. And is that okay?
Yeah, sure, of course.
I met her through a musical acquaintance, and I was working at a music workshop, and Floyd Lara was putting together this project that she was doing, and it's a gig, and she had three sisters, so it was herself and another sister called Nirai and Eshe. So she said, "P, we're looking for musicians and I need you on the keys, and can you do this?" And I said, "Okay." And we got X amount of songs for that. So that's how basically I turned up at rehearsals, and that was the first time I actually met her, And I was playing the songs, went for somebody was playing, and I said she was checking, she's like, they were like checking me out. So she was watching me. I noticed she was like watching me. And so this thing's going on in her mind, so then she said to me, "Oh, do you do other stuff, do you do, stuff outside of," I said, "Yeah," and then that's how we basically connected, So after we'd done this gig, I told her that I had something that I was working on, that I had planned, and I would like her to be a part of it. She was up for it. She was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." So, I got her down to the studio. Cosmic Lover was already there, the instrumental was already birthed. So she came in and she was just listening to some stuff, and it just resonated with her straight away. She said, "This is it, I love this." And she took it away with her, and I don't know, within it wasn't long. It was like a couple of days or something. She said, I've got it, I've got it, It's a little bit tricky to write to because it's not conventionally sort of structured, But I've got ideas of what I want to do. So, she had some initial things, and then she got back to me a few days later and was like, "Here, I'm coming down to record." And I have to say, this is Eshe is she's a consummate professional, really. been just easy, and a dream working with her. And her mentality, with this project, she has been on it as if it was her project. She's been there from the get-go, me putting things together, trying to pull people in. She was always there on the phone, contacting me, how you getting on and stuff. I have to give, a massive shout out to Shez for that, and even to this day, we still have this connection.
Do you want to announce Cosmic Lover that we're going to play now?
Okay, this is the track called Cosmic Lover featuring Shez Escoffery.
Glory. You got me, and I got you. You got me, and I got you. I was searching for so long, so long.
Okay, Kings and Queens. Hope you enjoyed that track, Cosmic Lover. And we're going to carry on talking to the fantastic PVibez. So Lorne and Don't Break My Heart. What does that song mean to you, and how was that manifested?
Oh wow, that's I've met Lorne on social media some years now, and we've stayed in touch, and how this happened. I remember seeing her. I was like adding people because I've known her for a while. We're going back to MySpace. So,
the good old days of MySpace. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm telling you, that's where I've met so many. And there's names that I forgot to mention when you asked me the people that I've worked with, because there were people that I connected with, legends on there as well. That opening the doors to me, and gave me a lot of confidence in myself. To let me know that what I'm doing is
You're
good.
paying it forward. That's fantastic.
So yeah, I found her on there, and I was a fan. I've been a fan for a long time, so I just sort of connected and sent her a message saying, I'm a big fan. It's a pleasure to find you here. And, obviously on the MySpace, you had your tracks and all that. So she got back to me and said, oh, thank you for the compliment and stuff. And I'm feeling your vibes too, PVibez. And I'm like, And she goes, if anything you got lying around, if you'd like to work, I'd like to work with you. And strangely enough, there was a good friend of mine who had passed, say, a year before. And he was a big fan as well. And he had all of our albums. You know, he had more than me.
Wow.
And I was like, gosh, and I just felt like he was there, you know, watching me, or he guided me to her, because he was a person that was always edging me on, always. It's, you know, never wanting me to let go of this dream, never wanting me to stop. You know, if I'd be doing something else, or I'd be doing some job, he'd be like, oh, but what about the music? Oh, why are you not doing this? You know, you know, so I told her about him as well, and she's, you know, but yeah, so that's how we connected. And the track, I think for her, you know, she'd have to speak on this herself, but you know, it's a personal thing.
Right.
And once this track was recorded, she, you know, listed it as one of her favorites. So at the time, so yeah, it means a lot to me, because it's someone who I've admired for a while, a long time, and it's a dream for me, you know, to work with her.
Oh, that's, you know, beautiful.
Yeah, the instrumental side of things. I don't know if you've read that I've spoken about film noir and the vibe of this thing. It's at the time I was watching a lot of those old black and white, you know,
black and white
thrillers
movies.
And those, you know, that stuff. And if you can hear, you listen to the strings, some of those strings going in, and there's a lot of drama going in underneath and in and out. There's a lot of that. I was inspired by a lot of that when I was putting that track together. So those elements are in there, but in a soulful way, you know. And the song and the way she structured the song, and she painted this, I don't know, this collage of like textures with her voice, you know. It was just perfect. This was perfect marriage, you know.
I love that description, collage of this with her voice. I think that was beautifully put.
Yes, because it's almost like it's impressionistic, you know, and she was using her voice, like, you know, brush strokes and creating these textures. And I'm not surprised, because she's an artist also, you know.
Oh, right, okay.
She does
multi-talented,
sculptures.
Wow. Do you want to introduce this next track by Lorne?
Okay. Lorne. Yes. This track is called Don't Break My Heart, featuring the sublime Lorne.
listeners, I'm sure you enjoy that. We'll keep that running for a little bit longer. And we've got one more song that we want to review with my fantastic guest, PVibez. Yeah, we're looking at Andre Bentley's Spontaneous.
Okay, Andre. I met Andre again. I was working at this music workshop, and first time I met Andre, I saw him perform. He's one of the performers. I wasn't even working there yet. I was just a guest. They had this event that they put on, and I was there, and this guy came up on the stage, and from the get-go, I saw he had something. His mannerisms, the way he looked, and the way he performed. And the way he sang, really grabbed me. So that's how we met, basically, the first time I met him. And I was thinking to myself, I would, definitely like to work with this guy at some point. So fast forward, we got to know each other. I was there for a couple of years, and we got to know each other quite well. So when I left and I was putting this project together, I thought, I had lived there, and he was one of the other names that came up. So I got him on board. I done a couple of tracks. I had a couple of tracks that I had lying around. He heard them and he said, okay, I want to take this. I'm going to take that. I'm going to write to this. And he wrote to a couple of things, but then it sort of stalled somewhere in the middle, I don't know. I've kind of lost my vibe on this PVibez. I don't know. I've kind of lost my vibe on that one. And then he said to me, okay, why don't we just kind of just do something, off the top, I'll just come down to you and we just vibe and see what happens.
Do something spontaneous.
Okay. Exactly. As it says on the can. Spontaneous. Yeah. So, he came down that day and we just I just rigged the thing up, rigged the stuff up. I had this drum beat going, and as a matter of fact, I had some pre-recorded drum beats already. So we said, okay, let's run through these drum beats, and if we don't find anything, we just create something from scratch. So we heard something, and it's like, yeah, that's the one. Yes, exactly. This is the feel I want. So we had this running, had a loop, just beat going, and then I, started playing some chords. And, I started playing some progressions, and then I hit this progression. It's like, yes, that's it. Keep playing that. So I was just jamming, and then he started singing. And we jammed, and then we had a change came in, middle A and stuff, and these changes were going on. So while I was doing that, he was singing. And so once we had that structure, I went back and said, okay, let's do this from the top. So then I recorded everything live, So I said, I'm going to play right now while you sing. So he sang, and I just played the keys in all the way through, and then I put the bass line in after that, and I just had him singing all the time, so I could vibe around it. And then I did all these other little textures and all these little synthy parts afterwards, and he laid a guide vocal down. And then he came back, second day, and we just done the BVs, the harmonies and everything, and that was it. Bang. Spontaneous.
Came to life.
Yeah.
I mean, all these songs are just, wonderful, beautiful songs, and love them, and well done to you. Oh, do you want to? We obviously want people to hear Spontaneous. So, do you want to introduce?
Yes.
Please, PVibez.
This is the track Spontaneous featuring Andre Bentley.
Let's go and be spontaneous. I really love that I can do that with you. It's the chemistry
as you can hear, there's all this talent in each of those songs, and PVibez is the hand that weaves it all together, and obviously we've been talking to him. So thank you so much for coming on the show, PVibez. Please, can you give your contact details again for us?
Okay. You can catch me at, first I'll give you my Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/PVibez. That's PVIBEZ. And you can also find me on Twitter, www.twitter.com/PVibez. And my website is www.pvibezofficial.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.